What's going on, bottom line viewers? It's Mitch here, joined by Dilly Vanilli himself and Kelvil. We're here and back for our NFL divisional preview and predictions. We're going to go over every single game in depth, give you our picks for each game in the divisional round. The divisional round for me is my favorite round of the NFL playoffs. And basically, like any playoffs, I guess, because the NFL playoffs is my favorite playoffs, and then I just add on the fact that it's the NFL divisional round. Usually, we get a lot of classic games in this round, a couple overtime games here and there, some high-scoring classics, or some low-scoring defensive battles. So this week, we'll see what we get, but I think we have a fair share of different matchups in this one, with only one game looking like it could be a blowout, with the other ones looking like it should be close, down to the wire type football. So, Dylan, we're going to basically, how did we do last week? And then we'll get into our picks. Let's go.
I think we were all pretty successful. We all went 3-1, so nobody's in the lead so far. I tried to pick the upset with the Lions. It didn't quite go out, so I could have had it, but that's all right. And both of you guys missed the Packers-Giants pick. So we're 3-1, pretty predictable first week, minus a game here and there. Coming into this week where it could be very unpredictable, minus one game in particular. So it's going to be interesting.
Kev, any thoughts on divisional round before we get into our picks?
Divisional round is excellent football. This is the time when the superior teams enter the competition, and it's fun. You realize that you are 2-3 weeks away from the Super Bowl. This week and next week are always these are the great parts. It's kind of like the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. There's some really good games and also really good rivalries develop here too. So, which will continue, I'm sure, going on this week as well, particularly with a couple of games.
All right, so I think Kev did misuse the word elite teams. I think that's what he said. He said elite teams, but he said elite teams. He didn't say elite teams and Brock Osweiler. So I think he said it a little bit incorrectly.
Elite teams have entered this. So what I meant is teams like the Patriots and the Cowboys.
Oh, okay.
The top
Can I bring up a little fact here that's interesting coming into this divisional round?
Sure.
Every single game that we're here in the divisional round, we have seen in the regular season before. Through weeks 1 through 6, we've seen every single matchup. So a little bit of a rematch for each one of these teams. Well, one team has no chance, but the other ones are going to be nice rematches.
And it's very interesting to watch rematches because a lot of times it's very difficult to beat even a bad team twice in one season. So it's going to make for some interesting games overall. Let's start on Saturday. First game, the earlier one, they're both not really early at all. Seattle plays Atlanta. This game is interesting. I actually have it charted out. Last week, you guys could see that I had the yards and the points. So today I'm prepared with the combinations here. It's not just going to show on the screen, but I'll tell you. And
okay.
This is why I have the yards and the points metrics, all right? Because it kind of gives you an insight into the teams a little bit. So the Hawks, with the combined yardage totals of offense and defense, are a 17, while the Falcons' total yards combinations are a 27. And that's only because their defense is so bad. Their offense is second in yards, first in points. They ranked 28th with offense and defense together, 28. And Hawks are 21. So overall, the Hawks look to be the better team through statistics. I don't know if we really agree. I'm going to see where we go with our picks here. But that's an interesting thing to look at. The Hawks are maybe a little bit more balanced on both sides of the ball. I think last week we saw what they can do running the football with a healthy running back and a good push on the offensive line, especially at home. Thomas Rawls looked great. And they might have CJ Prosise back in this game, which will be, I think, crucial. If he's healthy, this could totally sway my pick because I think that Seattle could definitely win this game if Prosise is playing in this game because he's so dangerous out of the backfield. He gives Seattle another threat in their passing game, which they desperately need other than Doug Baldwin and sometimes Jimmy Graham. There's a guy that can step up there from the backfield and make some plays. Defensively, Seahawks looked sound last week. I think some of that had to do with their defensive line taking over, and also the crowd helped a lot. This week they have a tough task heading to Atlanta to play the best offense in the NFL. They're balanced on, through the air and on the ground. Two great running backs that can hurt you in the passing and running games. Julio Jones hurts you, and that's going to be an interesting matchup between him and Richard Sherman. They have other guys like Gabriel, who's fast as hell, and they have Mohamed Sanu. Matt Ryan might be the MVP of the NFL. So a lot of interesting matchups for this weekend. I think this game ultimately will be the game where the Seattle Seahawks miss Earl Thomas, because Earl Thomas is just one of those players that in Seattle's scheme, they're not really a scheme type of team on defense. They play the same sort of defense almost consistently throughout the game. They play kind of like cover three and cover three press, and then they like bail out. So that's what they do like for most of the game. And with Earl Thomas there, he's kind of like a difference maker because he's such a good player that he's able to read things so fast. He can lay a big hit or two, like we saw on Gronk. He can basically man up on some receivers. So he's a huge difference maker in the secondary. In my opinion, their best player. So I think he's going to be missed the most in this game. I didn't really think they'd miss him last week. I'm going with the Atlanta Falcons here because I just like their offense too much at home. It's in a dome. The weather won't be a factor. I think Atlanta will be able to move the ball with a lot of success in this game due to Kyle Shanahan's creative offense. And I think their defense will do just enough. I think if Vic Beasley can get some pressure off the edge, that will be really big. But what I saw from Seattle's offense last week was kind of encouraging. If they can run the ball and Russell Wilson can clutch it up like he always does in the playoffs, then they have a very good chance of winning. I think it'll be a higher scoring game. I'm going to say like 31-28 for the Falcons. But ultimately, I'm going to go with the home team in this one. What do you guys think?
Go ahead, Kevin.
Well, this is one of the one of the problems when we get into these picks with this part is we take the number 3 and the number 4 team and we get so enamored with them that we forget the strengths and the weaknesses of the number 1s and the number 2s and why they got where they got. And I think that this will come up in a more prevalent discussion in a couple of other of our picks. First of all, let me just say a couple of things about Atlanta. Matt Ryan is 1-4 in the playoffs. That is the guy in this one that has all the pressure in terms of the quarterback. The quarterback edge in a lot of ways in terms of experience is Russell Wilson. Yeah, Matt Ryan is going to be the MVP. Probably most people will say mechanically Matt Ryan is the better quarterback. But there's a lot of things that Seattle did do very well last week. I'm not going to dispute that. They ran the ball. They played great defense. They were physical. They dominated. They made incredible catches. And, as a Seahawks fan, they almost made me believe. I also think that the crowd factor is not going to be a factor. The Georgia Dome isn't even sold out. There might be a lot more 12s in there than you think because the Seahawks do travel well. So my heart wants me to pick Seattle. I do think that they're going to. But the problem is Seattle on the road this year has not shown me anything except that one game in New England. They haven't played well enough at all. And this is I think I don't want to fall into the mirage of believing that what we saw is going to be consistent. They have not been consistent at all this year on the road. They've also had some terrible starts on the road in the playoffs. Last year against Carolina, a couple of years ago, even the last time, 2012 in Atlanta, 2012 in Washington, where they were down 20-0. That cannot happen here at all if even they have a remote hope of a chance. They cannot fall behind. But I just think as I said before, I think Dan Quinn is a little bit of an underestimated coach. I think he should be in the conversation for Coach of the Year. And the Seattle's lost a little bit of their swagger without Dan Quinn. It's a little bit of it. And I think Atlanta is going to just by 3 pull this one out. That's my head, not my heart. I want to be wrong here, but I think Atlanta is going to do it.
I do want to bring up one thing that you said, Kev. You did say that Russell Wilson has more experience in the playoffs, which is very true. He's won a Super Bowl and all that stuff. But these teams have played before in the playoffs. They were different teams, of course.
That's Matt Ryan's only win in the playoffs.
It is. And it was in the same round, I believe.
Yeah.
Interesting.
For me, I look at the Seahawks last week. They got their run game back. Thomas Rawls is becoming a beast. He was last year, got injured, and now he's back here making big plays. The defense was great, but for me, they were playing a weaker team. They were playing the Detroit Lions, and although I appreciate the Lions and I like my boy Matthew Stafford, they just were inefficient in getting it done. And through 3 quarters, that was still a close game both ways. So for me, you got the Falcons over here. That offense has just been rolling. I don't like their defense that much. You got Vic Beasley, you got Deion Jones, but that's about it. You got this team here on the offense, however, and Matt Ryan has been very consistent all year, finds his receivers, Julio Jones. I think there's too many targets for me with that offense for Seattle to keep up. I just don't see a way for Seattle to come back and face all the points that the Falcons are going to score. I think this is going to be a shootout for me personally, even with the Seahawks defense. I don't see that offense, especially on the road, like Kevin said. They've suffered many losses this year on the road in games they could have won. So for me, I just think it's not going to get the job done, and I think the Falcons are going to pull this one out with either a touchdown or a field goal win. So saying the Falcons move on to the NFC Championship with their offense.
So we're all on the Falcons. All right.
My heart is with the Seahawks, though. I just want to point that out.
Okay, so your heart is with the Seahawks. That won't win you any brownie points with all these Hawks fans we got on this channel.
But I did pick Atlanta in the original one, so I have to stick with this. I'm not going to change my mind.
Okay.
That's the important part of it.
Same as me. I did kind of go back and forth a little bit, but at the end of the day, I got to go with Atlanta. And it's kind of interesting, like what your mind does to you after you watch the wild card games. Because before the playoffs, you'll be like, oh, I'm going to pick Atlanta in this round. That's why we do the playoff picks before the playoffs start. And we also do playoff picks now because you can change your mind very easily with what you see throughout the playoffs. So also, I'm very surprised with how many Atlanta Falcons fans we have out there that watch our content. Thanks, guys, for watching our content. It's actually very surprising. I didn't know there were that many fans out there. So that's awesome.
I got hated on for the comment that I made for the Falcons in the playoffs. So, just keep it on the low. I picked your team. All right, next game.
We have the Saturday night blockbuster matchup. The Houston Texans at the New England Patriots.
Yeah, it is a blockbuster matchup because Blockbuster's out of business, just like the Houston Texans will be.
The Texans bring the number 1 defense in terms of yards into Gillette Stadium, while the Patriots have the number 1 defense in terms of points. For the Texans, they are ranked 30th in yards, so that means that they have a 29 on offense and a 1 on defense. Patriots are 12. Then the Texans 39 on offense. For points. I don't even know what the situation is there. And the Patriots are 4 for points. So yeah, the Patriots would be 16 versus Texans 69. So this is a big difference between teams. I mean, the Patriots are one of the biggest playoff favorites in NFL history. I think it's at something around 16 right now. Pretty ridiculous. That's going back to like 2007 territory for the Patriots right there. I don't know what to say about this game. I mean, the Patriots stomped them 27-0 with Jacoby Brissett at quarterback.
Jacoby Brissett beat
the only way I see the Texans winning this game is like Jadeveon Clowney gets 3 sacks and 2 forced fumbles. They get a kick return. Brock Osweiler and DeAndre Hopkins just get 2 bombs. That's the only way, because I think the Patriots on offense will be able to move the ball. They could run the ball on the Texans pretty efficiently. I don't think they'll be able to move the ball kind of like classic Patriots up and down the field sort of way, but I still think they'll be able to move the ball. It is the number one defense, so you got to give them respect, but it's in Gillette where the Patriots are a lot better on offense. So I think that, they should still be able to move the ball probably around 30 points. And the Texans are going to need to score 30 points on the number one scoring defense with Brock Osweiler. I don't see it happening. I think it'll be something like 31-10. I'm going to go with the Patriots here. Pretty easy for me.
This is the easiest game of the four. You have a team here that lost to the freaking third-string quarterback earlier this season, 27-0. Unbelievable. Brock Osweiler is still garbage. And I don't know if anybody remembers, but every single time these two teams play in the playoffs, the Patriots outclass them in every way, shape, and form. This team just has nothing going for them. They beat a Raiders team that had a third-string quarterback, so congratulations. If you're a Houston fan, you don't have any reason to celebrate because you beat a third-string quarterback starting his first game. For me, the Patriots are just way better on offense. Of course, Brady. There's so many receivers he can throw to: Hogan, Edelman, Amendola. The list goes on and on. The defense, number one scoring defense, they're obviously going to put a lot of pressure on a very untalented quarterback in Brock Osweiler. And for me, they're going to be way more talented than the Texans. To me, this comparison is like March Madness, where the 1 seed is playing the 16th seed. And the 16th seed has never, ever beaten a 1 seed in the March Madness tournament. And that'll continue here in the playoffs. So I'm going to go with the Patriots over the Texans. No doubt about it.
If the Texans have the ball for 45 minutes and are leading with 2 minutes to go in the game, they still won't win. I'm trying to find a way to see how Houston can actually win this game.
That's exactly what I'm thinking about. Like at least in like 2010,
the Patriots would have to forfeit.
Like at least in the past when the Patriots had issues with teams, you could be like, okay, there's a possibility because their defense is bad, and if an offense can get hot and win, like for example the 2010 Jets. But even them, they beat them during that season, and they were good, really good defense. So I mean, it's tough. I don't see a way that
the only way that they can do this is if they get a defensive touchdown and a special teams touchdown. I think they need both to even have a remote chance here. Their offense didn't even let's be honest here. If you're a Houston Texans fan, and I don't mean to offend you here, but you did not win because of the great play of Brock Osweiler. You won because of the great play of your linebacking crew, which is a great linebacking crew. I'm not going to take anything away from that, but unfortunately, the way that your offense is structured, I just don't see how on earth you're going to compete unless New England misses the bus and doesn't arrive until the third quarter. This is not one. I don't know how you're going. I don't know how you're going to win. I just don't.
The answer is they're not.
I think that one of the key questions, though, is I think the key here is the Patriots have to get out of this game healthy. That's the thing that I would be as a Patriots, if I was a Patriots fan, concerned about. Cloudy is going to get his shots in, and if this gets into a blowout situation, this may get a little bit interesting. So the question is, one of the questions is going to be, how long do you keep your stars in? Because a certain team, Pittsburgh, mishandled that greatly last week. But anyway.
Yeah, that's the Big Ben syndrome. We'll get into that in just a little bit, which is right now. So we're all taking the Patriots. We're all on the Patriots. So
this can't be a surprise to anybody. I'm sorry.
We're all on the Falcons.
I think someone out there who is picking Houston now.
I had a comment about somebody that said the Texans could win, and I was like, really?
Like if the Patriots the Patriots miss their bus ride and they can't make it to the game, or like a strike of lightning happens, it's not gonna happen.
Because even if you think about it, even if the craziest thing on earth, Tom Brady, gets hurt in this game, pray to God he doesn't, touching wood.
Garoppolo will
still win.
Garoppolo will still beat this team.
Still better than Osweiler.
Danny Amendola, Julian Edelman. Bill Belichick as quarterback will all
never-
be Broncos.
But, you know, even if you go back to that 07 Patriots-Giants game, there were people that were picking the Giants.
Well, it's because the Giants played them very well in the last game of the season.
This is different because at least their defense was good and there were some players. There's nothing. No.
All right. And they lost to Jacoby Brissett 27-0. Okay.
That's the biggest.
Okay. So Pittsburgh at Kansas City. So Pittsburgh ranks 19th in yards total. The very interesting thing about the Kansas City Chiefs that always surprises me is that they're never good with yardage. They are put together, they're 44. They add up to 44, which is worse than the Texans, by the way. That is offensively. Steelers points are 20th added up together. So they're 20 and a 19, which, 39. Chiefs are 20th in points as well. So they're even for points. They're basically the same team when it comes to offensive and defensive points for and allowed. So that's what matters, really. So these teams are pretty much as even as it gets, with the Steelers having more of an advantage in offensive and defensive yards. The Chiefs would have the advantage in terms of turnover differential for sure. I think they ranked second behind the Oakland Raiders. I think it was first in terms of differential and second in terms of turnovers. I'm not sure. It's one or the other. But Steelers, Chiefs, very close game, close matchup. I'm looking, this might be the most interesting game of the week for me. Coming into the playoffs, I thought this would happen, and I thought this would be the most interesting game of the playoffs coming in. The game right after this might be just as interesting, though. The Steelers offense with the killer bees. Everybody loves to talk about those guys. Le'Veon Bell is amazing. I just did a video last night because I was just pissed off. I was like, okay, I was in wrestling mode, and I was like, some idiot said something stupid. So Skip Bayless was saying how Ezekiel Elliott is the best by far running back in the league. For me, that's Le'Veon Bell, and then David Johnson, and then Ezekiel Elliott. That's my opinion.
Dylan on the Cowboys.
Dylan might say something different, but that's my opinion. I don't think it's really close between those guys. The Chiefs and Antonio Brown played great last week. They used a lot of screen passes. They could do that again this week. But Big Ben all season long, I think big storyline that really hasn't been talked about very much. He hasn't played very well this entire year. If you think back to the Ravens game, they had to come back in that game because Big Ben threw terrible interceptions. Last week, he played fine, but he played the Dolphins. I mean, they weren't even a playoff team. I don't know why they were in the tournament. During the season, he wasn't anything special. They're going to rely on their power run game to win this game, and I think that's the way they need to win this game, especially in Arrowhead. With Kansas City, they have an offense that now has added a dangerous weapon in Tyreek Hill. I think they need to try and get him the ball more. You see too often that they don't get him the ball, and the one play they do, he runs for a 90-yard reverse touchdown. Jeremy Maclin is back, and he's kind of been on and off. Travis Kelce, I think, could be the X factor for the Chiefs because the Steelers do really struggle with tight ends. Alex Smith, just needs to be Alex Smith with a couple big plays here and there to win this game. The defense needs to probably force a couple turnovers for the Chiefs and the Steelers. I think with whatever team can force more turnovers is probably going to win this game. And that being said, I'm going to go with the Kansas City Chiefs. I think they're the more balanced team on both the offensive and defensive side of the ball. They have the home field advantage, which I think is very crucial to this matchup, given that the Steelers have played a lot better at home and a lot worse away. I think that Le'Veon Bell will really hurt the Chiefs quite a bit, but I also think Travis Kelce will really hurt the Pittsburgh Steelers. So them canceling each other out, I look at the rest of the teams, and I'm like, I can trust the Chiefs' defense to make a couple plays here and there. I wasn't really impressed with what I saw from the Steelers last week, other than the killer bees. So other than that, I'm leaning towards the Chiefs. I think the Steelers are a sexy pick, but I don't think they're the realistic pick. So I'm going with the Chiefs.
Interesting.
I think this is the date again when we talk about the danger of the wild card round, because everyone got into how great Le'Veon Bell looked, how great Antonio Brown looked, how great Ben looked, how great this. The Miami Dolphins were goddamn awful last week. Let's just be completely honest. That was the first 3/4 of that was a Pittsburgh Steelers practice. There was
it was a practice. It was a practice that could have been competitive at halftime. You think back to that game, and it was 17 or 14.
20.
Yeah, it was 20-6, and then they had a chance.
20-6, that's right. And then Matt Moore fumbles the ball after seeing James Harrison run after him for 4 seconds, and then he gets hit, and he's surprised that he fumbled.
Yeah, the Pittsburgh Steelers. I know that a lot of people love them. I know that you love your Le'Veon Bell. I know they're so popular. And if this was a home game, I would give them a better shot. But they're going into a very hostile environment, and an underrated hostile environment. Kansas City is a loud place. Travis Kelce is right now the best tight end in the NFL. I don't think that that's a disputed thing. And Andy Reid and the Kansas City Chiefs are 26-3 in the last 29 games, and they're physical. And Antonio Brown on a screen pass is going to get whacked, and Le'Veon Bell is not going to find a patient little running room that he did last week. I think that the Steelers are in for a fight, and I think if this is going to be a fist fight, my money will be on the Chiefs, and I do think that the Chiefs come away and win this one. And I don't know if it's going to be as close as people think, to be quite frank and honest with you. I think the Chiefs cover the spread.
What I'm concerned about in this game is I'm concerned if by picking the Chiefs, what I'm talking about is I'm concerned that maybe Andy Reid mismanages the clock. I mean, that's pretty much it. I think if they don't somehow try
Andy Reid has never mismanaged a clock before.
Oh yeah, okay. Put together a game plan of, where they try not to stop Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell. I mean, I think they can do that. But other than that, I mean, I think the Steelers can easily win this game. I think it will be a close game, but everything points to me towards the Chiefs. So, yeah.
I think that they're
I also just want to bring up that the Steelers did win the first time, but they're totally different teams.
That's two totally different teams, and you look at the competition between how they get here. The Chiefs were in a far tougher division. Let's be frank and honest about that. You had a tough Raider team, you had a tough Bronco team, a so-so Charger team. The Steelers had the Cleveland Browns, the Cincinnati Bengals, and the Baltimore Ravens, who are not strong teams this year, and not really great playoff teams. And I think that comes into play here. I think the Chiefs are battle tested this year. Pittsburgh, not so much.
Interesting. Well, I'm going with the upset here. I'm picking the Pittsburgh Steelers on this one. I've heard you guys, I heard you out. I listened to it, and I know Kansas City's defense is going to be ready to play. However, for me, I'm just liking the Pittsburgh Steelers more. I'm just liking that offense just a little bit more. Nobody here talked about the offense besides Tyreek Hill. I think in maybe Travis Kelce, but Alex Smith is not going to be for me.
I said Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill. What the Chiefs need to do, they got a couple plays. They only need to make a couple plays. I think they're going to be able to move the ball all day long.
Yeah, I do too.
I don't think. Again, I didn't talk about what you guys were talking, but I don't think Alex Smith is going to be the guy that's going to be making plays. I just don't see it working for me. I think Big Ben is going to come in this situation and realize what's at stake for his team, because he's had to make these moments before where they're tough, crucial games on the road. And as an experienced veteran quarterback that's had multiple opportunities in the playoffs, I think he's going to find guys like Antonio Brown. He's going to have his Le'Veon Bell, who's going to rush through their defense. I think there's going to be somebody that's going to make some big, deep plays. You got Coates. You got certain players for me that are on the Steelers team that I just think will be making bigger plays. I like that Chiefs defense a lot, but I've got more faith for me to pick the upset here and go with the Steelers.
I was just thinking, when have the Steelers won a playoff game other than the last one they won?
They won last year.
They beat Natty last year.
They beat who?
Cincinnati
last year.
Oh, that's right. That Cincinnati should have won that game. That was so bad. All right.
I'm going with
I
the.
forgot about that one.
I got a feeling that there's something in my mind that says the Chiefs kind of falter here, and the Steelers will pick up on the advantage.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, Dylan, when you were talking about the offenses, I just think like the Chiefs' offense is pretty decent. It's not bad at all. I think that Andy Reid has a nice scheme there. Alex Smith runs it very well. He doesn't take a lot of shots down the field, but he doesn't really need to. He plays complementary football. I think they probably won't be able to run the ball that efficiently, but I think that they can move the ball through the air in this game with their short passing game with Travis Kelce, with their running backs, with Hill and Macklin. I saw Miami, who uses a lot of similar offenses, a lot of similar sets and schemes and stuff like that. And I thought they had a lot of success. They just turned the football over a couple too many times. And I don't think that the Chiefs defense is going to play like the Miami defense. And I think that the Steelers, I don't know what it is this year, but when they're on the road, they're just not the same team. And I can just never believe in them, similar to the Seahawks. But that's my counter argument to that. Kev, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, Ben can win. Yeah, but I also think Ben makes drama, and I think that Kansas City is going to do the proverbial punch in the mouth on a couple of things, and I don't think the Steelers are going to be able to respond. I think the Chiefs are going to be in there, and it's going to be they're in for a fight, and I think if this is going to be a fist fight, and I think the Chiefs are the team with a better fist fight. Do
you guys think that Big Ben is kind of like making this up, or do you think this is a real injury?
Everybody is hurt this time of year. Like it just.
He's like a diva. Like he has you could see the press conference, and he's like sticking his foot out in front of the camera for everybody to see.
Yeah.
It's just something that bugs me about Ben, because then like on the counter side of that, I'll always hear people and they're like, oh, Ben is the toughest quarterback in the league, because he always tells you he's injured. You never hear Peyton or Tom or Brett Favre say that they were hurt during the season. You always hear about it after. Oh, they had broken ribs or a broken foot or a torn whatever quad or whatever, right? Like I don't
have a mash over here. Okay, I don't know.
Yeah,
really, to me, it doesn't matter. If he's going to go out there and play football, he plays football. If he makes the right plays, then the injury thing doesn't matter.
All right.
I think that the danger though becomes the difference between him and Alex Smith is we know with Kansas City we're not expecting anything from Alex. He's not going to win or lose a game. Ben puts a lot of this on his shoulders, which is an interesting tactic. Win or lose.
But like I said, I think if the Steelers are going to win, it's going to be on Le'Veon Bell's shoulders more than anybody else.
Yeah, I mean, and your Bills and your Browns are great weapons, but I just think Kansas City is a very tough team to do some of that stuff that they'll try to do.
All right. This is going to be an interesting game because we picked a little bit differently there. I'm intrigued to see if we pick differently on this one here. The Green Bay Packers at the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys and the Packers are two teams that played earlier in the season. We do have to mention that the Packers are not nearly the same team, and the Cowboys have grown with some experience down the stretch. So these aren't the same teams that played in, week 5, I think? Week 5 or 6, yeah. So it's different. It's different. That was in Lambeau. This is at Dallas. This should be a calm game, not the same as last week for Aaron Rodgers, where it's very cold, where somebody's coming into his house, he's going to somebody else's house. This one is going to be very intriguing because I think it's going to be up to both offenses. I think it's up to both offenses, and both defenses will have to do their best job to scheme and in the red zone hold them to field goals. I think that's going to be the difference. Whatever defense can hold whatever team to field goals at the end of the day, maybe make one or two big plays with an interception or maybe a special teams strip or return or a big punt return or whatever can win this game. The Packers come in with the super hot offense, the hottest offense in the NFL. I don't think there's any fact about it. They were slowed down in the first half by the Giants until that crazy Hail Mary by Randall Cobb and Aaron Rodgers. Hail A-Rod. And I think that it's going to be such an interesting game because on one side, we have the dominance up front of the Dallas Cowboys where they can control the game with the offensive line and the run game. If they can do that, they have a very good chance. I look at Green Bay's defense, and they have been typically stronger against the run. They got ran over against Cowboys the first time they played them, but I think this time they're pretty much going to sell out. And I think it's going to be up to Dak to really, spread them out and take what the defense gives them with that. I think he's going to have to check at the line from a run to a pass. He's going to have to throw the ball. I think he's going to have to throw the ball 35 times in this game for them to win because I think on the other side, the Packers are going to score points. So it's going to be interesting, especially at the beginning of the game, where I think that if the Packers go up early, that's really where the Cowboys are going to be tested. So if you're the Cowboys and you're a Cowboys fan, I think you want your Cowboys to get up early on the Packers so they're the ones that are having to come back, maybe become a little bit more one-dimensional so you know what's coming, and also you can feed off your run game a little bit more. But let's go into the stats, and then we'll get to these guys' picks. Packers, 30 in yards total. Cowboys, 19 in yards total. Packers, 25 in points total. And Cowboys, 10th in points. So overall, Cowboys have a better yards and points, addition, little whatever, fraction, whatever you want to say. And I think a lot of that kind of depends on where you look at it. I'm not sure what the Packers are since whenever they started their win streak. I think it would be a lot different. But in this game, I am going to go with the Dallas Cowboys because I picked them to go to the Super Bowl. That is pretty much the only basis I'm going off. I think this game will be very close. I could see it going either way. I could see Aaron Rodgers having a feast. I could see Ezekiel Elliott having a feast or Dak Prescott. I think it's going to be a very high-scoring game. But at the end of the day, I like what I've seen from the Cowboys' defense a little bit more than the Packers. I think that they can hold them a couple times in the red zone and force field goals and make some plays. It's going to be very crucial that they do get a pass rush a little bit because, when Aaron Rodgers is standing back there for 9 seconds and throwing the ball, I could throw the ball with 9 seconds. So
I couldn't. Anyway,
I'm gonna go with the Cowboys in a tight, high-scoring game, and I think it will be very, very entertaining.
I'll let Kevo go next.
Well, there is no question that Aaron Rodgers has that 2010 look in his eye where he feels like he is unstoppable. And he certainly showed that against the Giants. Although he got there late, he got on it. But there's a number of differences here that that are coming in. Let's not forget Jordy Nelson is likely out for this game with a couple of broken ribs. Let's also not forget that the backup receiver is questionable with a marijuana charge, Geronimo Austin. So I think one of the
Allison.
Oh, sorry, I was thinking of someone else. Yeah, Geronimo may not be available. So it's a question of who Aaron Rodgers has as the weapons is going to be a factor. Will they score points? I think they can get 20 points, but also I think the other factor in this is one of Colin Kaepernick's one of their game that he's remembered for is the game back of 2000, the San Francisco Super Bowl run, where he ran all over the Green Bay Packers and Don Capers' defense. And Don Capers' defense typically cannot handle scrambling quarterbacks for whatever reason. I just think that Dallas is just going to be able to run the ball. I think they're going to be able to hit play action and hit Witten and Beasley and Bryant a lot. And I think a home playoff game where Dallas has a chance to go to the Super Bowl, the Cowboy fans will be hyped. It's going to be a great environment if you're a Cowboy fan, if you're a Dallas fan. And I'm looking at I think Dallas can win this game. I know that people are thinking that people are reminding everyone that no rookie quarterback has went to the Super Bowl. That's fine. There's a lot of weapons around him that can make this easy. It's just, I think Green Bay, the secondary's beat up. I think Green Bay for their run, it's been magnificent. But and yes, I did pick against them last week. But I think the fuel is hitting empty, and they will not defeat Dallas this week.
I like the explanation, guys. Now here, as the Cowboys fan, I'm going to give you my explanation. As a Cowboys fan, I come into this game knowing that the Green Bay Packers put up a lot of good plays and a lot of good drives against the New York Giants, who have had a really good defense. And I've been very interested to see. I was watching that game very intensely last week to see some key things going on for them. The first half, the Giants mostly stopped whatever the Packers game was, except for that one touchdown at the very end, and then the Packers ran away with it in the second half. For me, the Cowboys have got a lot of big players. They got a lot of big, talented names that can make plays. I want to just point this out, which is very interesting. Pro Football Focus announced their top 5 secondaries of 2016. And
I saw that. That was shocking.
Number 1. Dallas was ranked number 1.
I'm wondering what the statistical backup of that is. Because when I saw it, they're like, none of these guys rank in the top 10. And I'm like, what? How's that possible?
I don't know. Brandon Carr is still absolute trash for me. And he was actually in your overrated list, which I was like, how could he be overrated if he was not rated for me? For me, that's a pretty interesting fact. The secondary can make big plays. Sean Lee is going to be a crucial part to stop Aaron Rodgers. A lot of times in these last couple of games, he's been able to see the quarterback, read the quarterback, know what kind of play he's going to make. So he's going to go out there and change the defense up, change the scheme a little bit, make his big plays. Of course, Ty Montgomery's the running back, and I think they can stop their running game pretty easily. Dallas's defense, which is different from Week 6. Week 6 coming into that game between these two, the Packers were rated number 1 against the run, and now Dallas is rated number 1 against the run. So I think Dallas has the edge on that. Des Bryant is healthy in this game, and Jordy Nelson is not, which was reversed in Week 6. Des Bryant was not healthy, and Jordy Nelson was. So that's a key factor in this game. If Des Bryant can get in there, make some big plays. Dak Prescott, I think he knows, especially with this team, with this unhealthy team, there's some plays where he can get to some good receivers. I think Cole Beasley is going to be a huge target for them. I think he can scramble, like Kevin said, again, like Colin Kaepernick did a couple of years ago against the Packers. I think there could be a similar repeat of this because we've seen Dak make big first downs with his legs. If he can't,
I will just say that the difference between those two is they actually ran quarterback runs. They run like the odd read option near the goal line, the Cowboys, but they don't run like QB power to the right. I'm not saying
it's not designed, but it could be a factor. It could be a nice, like, here's a third down play where you have 3rd down and 5, and instead of throwing the ball, you could have Dak run it. It'd be an interesting little play. I think that could be a big factor. Ezekiel Elliott ran over this team the first time, and I know Mitch said they're going to try the defense for Green Bay is going to try their best. I don't see them stopping it. I think Ezekiel Elliott has had very great amount of success in big pressure situations. Look at the national championship 2 years ago in the college football playoff. I just look at these teams, and the Cowboys to me are just better. Aaron Rodgers is a good quarterback, and I think he'll find his receivers, but A, Nelson's out. B,
whoa, bro. He's not just good.
Oh my God! Don't bring the Stephen A. Smith. He's the greatest I've ever seen.
He's not the greatest I've ever seen, but he's freaking amazing. I don't think you can say he's just good.
I'm not saying, dude. You just took it out of context. I know how good he is. I think he is a really good quarterback. Of course, he's been making this run and whatnot. But I want to bring one last bombshell into this. The road team in both in the Cowboys-Packers playoff matchups has not won a game since 1966. So the home team.
Isn't that the Ice Bowl?
That is no, that is not the Ice Bowl.
No, it wouldn't be the Ice Bowl. No, that would be Super Bowl. That'd be the NFC Championship game to Super Bowl II. I believe
Super Bowl I, wouldn't it?
Super Bowl I it's one of those two. I just know it's 1966. So the road team has not won the last 6 games here in the playoffs between these two, and I believe the Cowboys are at home. So I'm going to pick the Dallas Cowboys over the Green Bay Packers. I just think there's too much advantage for the Cowboys to go in, and I think they'll move on to the NFC Championship.
So we're all on the Cowboys. Hey, I don't know if I like that.
I like it.
We're pretty in agreement here. So maybe we need to toss a question out. Here's a question I'm going to toss to Dylan.
What's the question?
All right, what's the question?
Dylan,
Mhm.
if as a Cowboys fan, who are you more afraid of, the Seahawks or the Falcons?
Well, Michael Bennett put it best when he said, I would rather play the worst team, and I would be more afraid of the Falcons. I'm sorry. I do quite like the Seahawks in places, but I think if you're the Falcons, they know how to score. They know how to put up points, and even though we do have highly rated players, number one on the secondary, I think you could throw on some people, Brandon Carr, and have Julio Jones make some big plays. So for me, with the two running back system they have, I would be more scared of the Falcons if I was to play them.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that. If I was a Cowboys fan, then.
Because for me, I saw this earlier in the season. I'm like, if we were to play the Seahawks, I think there's a way you could play against them, especially with Earl Thomas out of the equation. I think there's a way you could play.
I think one thing, if the Seahawks did play the Cowboys, that would be crucial. It would be the total decider of the entire game. Would be is Irving or Lawrence and those guys going to get after Russell Wilson? If they don't get after Russell Wilson, you guys have a chance of losing that game. But other than that, I would think that the Cowboys would win.
I mean,
against the Falcons, like you said, they can score better than anybody. So I'd be kind of scared with that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it would be interesting. I don't know who I would pick if I was a Cowboys fan. I would probably lean towards the Falcons though.
Well, Michael Bennett said it best. I would rather play the worst team. So we'll see how that goes.
Mitch, who are you more afraid of, the Steelers or the Chiefs?
Like, I've been going back and forth in my mind, and I'm like, I think they're the same. Because on one side, I see, I don't remember the last time. I don't think the Patriots have ever lost to the Steelers at home. They've lost to them once on the road.
And we saw them both earlier on in the season. The Steelers got whooped by the Patriots at Gillette Stadium. So
I was in Pittsburgh, but that was with Landry Jones.
I completely forgot about that.
Yeah,
but still, you guys put a whooping.
Yeah, I think that it's because the same point that Dylan has about Atlanta, you can go with Pittsburgh. They can score points, but I don't think they're quite as diverse as Atlanta. I don't think they're as scary as Atlanta because I think Belichick can figure out ways to slow down and contain both Bell and Brown. I have a lot of confidence in Malcolm Butler, and I have a lot of confidence in our run defense. So that being said, I would be kind of more scared for the Chiefs because the Chiefs win in weird ways. They can win with a punt return or a fumble or an interception. Even though the Patriots don't turn the football over very much, I still think that there's a chance that the Chiefs could, maybe have some solid long drives and get in the end zone in certain situations and keep the ball away from the Patriots, and then they could, maybe get a punt return or something like that. So I would say probably the Chiefs just by that much, but it's very close.
And I must ask you, Kevel, the same question. If you get the upset over Atlanta, who would you rather face?
Packers? Yeah, that's interesting because you just got demolished by the Packers, bro.
Yeah. Well, I think I know the answer to this question, but
the answer is simple. You want the home game. You absolutely want the home game. You don't necessarily. I mean, I think in a lot of ways, Seattle matches up a lot better than people realize against Dallas. I think that they can do a number of different things that Atlanta won't be able to do as much. And I just think in terms of defense, I think yes, Earl's a loss, but I think there's such a physicality that I think Dallas is in for a fight. But I think Dallas at home with that offensive line and 100,000 people and an opportunity to go to the Super Bowl, that's tough. That's just tough. That's like all the momentum is in Dallas in that case. You want the home game. You want.
Can I say this right now?
Mm-hmm.
My prediction is the Patriots will face whoever wins the Cowboys-Packers game in the Super Bowl.
Wow, that is a.
I'm not gonna say that.
I will say that. That's still my opinion.
I will not, of course.
Although I do like Atlanta to a degree, and I still like the Seahawks to a degree. But I think Mitch could be very well right. But I'm not going to go too far into it. I'm going to go say that. We're going to win the game.
Why would you not say that, Kev?
Well, because we haven't gotten that far yet. I think predictions like that are bold and fun, but like let's see what comes out of these games, right? I mean, let's say Rodgers wins and he's not healthy, or there's like a whole bunch of interesting schemes and questions that can happen. I think it's a pretty bold prediction. I
think if the Packers lose, they do have like the ultimate excuse. Jordy Nelson was hurt.
Oh my God, I hate these fans that are always like, "Oh, if we win, we're gonna put it in your face, but if we lose, oh my God, my player was injured. Throw excuse number B." I know so many people out there. So if we lose Sunday, I'm not going to be an excuse. I'll give you props, all right? But I don't want to hear anybody say that excuse. What a shit.
Yeah, if the Patriots lose, I have no excuses.
You guys lose.
The problem with the Seahawks came back to that losing that game in Arizona. This game should have been in Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
That would have been interesting because that would have been a rematch in the Seahawks building. So these are our NFL division round picks. Let us know who you guys are picking. Very intrigued to hear what you say. We are going with pretty much the same picks, except Dylan is taking the Pittsburgh Steelers over the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm sure that
somebody's going to be tied for first.
I'm sure that, yeah.
Or you guys will be tied.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm very interested to see all these Steelers fans hate on myself and Kev. I'm sure it's coming. Atlanta Falcons fans hate on Kev again because he's a Seahawks fan.
They're going to hate on me for saying something about their defense.
All right. Okay. Before we get onto this, though, Falcons fans out there, no, we don't cheat. No, the refs are not on our side. And no, it was not pass interference. Sherman is smarter than all of us. Bear with that. So,
I thought you were talking about
by the way,
I thought you were talking about the Lion's face mask. I don't know what you were watching though.
That should have been offset. No, I'm talking about the Julio play that everyone is talking about there.
I was like, whoa, we're talking about Richardson. That was clearly face.
And to that guy that commented that the Lions lost because of officiating, I think you had a lot more problems, bro.
Yeah, it was a 20-point loss. Falcons, Seahawks early on the season. Maybe you could have said something about that, but
they only had one good quarter. Just people remember that it was that third quarter that the Falcons got all those points. I remembered the stat I pulled up for that too. I have to find it in my tweets, but that was one quarter.
A controversial play. I don't think it was pass interference myself, but
yeah. So if you want to hate on me, Falcon fans, feel free to hate on me, but good luck on Saturday.
Anyways, guys,
by the way,
do we have any plugs before we say goodbye?
Mitch and Dylan will be joining me, I think, to do the same type of preview on Agree or Disagree, the podcast. We talked about the transition today between the 70-year-old turning 9-year-old that's taking control of the United States. How that's going to look. Was fascinating. Got a bunch of other stuff going on, so check out my Twitter, KEVOLE. Go on to Spreaker.com/KEVOLE to listen to my podcast that will be coming to YouTube soon.
I'm loving it, Kevin. Can't wait for that podcast. So tomorrow I'm gonna be this is gonna be today actually. I'm plugging Idiots of the IWC episode, because wrestling fans, not all of them, but some people just don't get the problem. They just don't understand. So we're going to highlight some people that just don't quite get it up here, all right?
And I hope it's not exclusive this time.
No, it is not exclusive. Some people don't learn their lesson, which will be brought up. but we're also going to be talking about the Okada Omega match. We're going to be talking about some stuff that WWE posted earlier this week that has just people I don't understand. Okay, so I want you guys to stay tuned for that, because in the world of wrestling, things don't always turn out how we want it to be, and some of them are freaking stupid. So stay tuned for that. More NFL content, more bangers on the way. 2017 is going to be GOAT, and we're this close on the road to a week of WrestleMania videos.
All right, guys. Thanks for joining us. Make sure you check out all the NFL content I've been putting out lately. Check out the top 10 most underrated and overrated players in the NFL. Put those out as well. So check them out. Let me know what you think. And it's Mitch, Dylan, Kev of the Bottom Line View. Enjoy divisional round weekend. My favorite weekend. Peace out.
Peace.